Hello students. In previous session I have completed health related aspects and factors affecting health, followed by common communicable diseases which are caused by virus, bacteria, protozoans, fungus and the worms. To protect from such pathogens, we have already immune or lymphoid system in our body. Along with, we have different barriers, we have different chemicals to protect internal organs and to fight with all the particles which are entering in the body. Before I start the next part, I'll just give an example. In India, we have the largest defense force. This defense force is taking care of all boundaries so that enemy will not enter inside. The territory is protected by infantries, we call army. The aquatic bodies are under the control of naval units and the air attacks prevented by Air Force. These are the trained forces in India, along with border security force and territorial army. Line of control is always protected by the BSF, Border Security Force. Any enemy entering or crossing this LOC, BSF people will attack. There are some local communities, NGOs, they work like a spy. They will give information about the entering enemy to the particular forces. Once the enemy enters, now sometimes very difficult to trace the enemy. So after the entry of the enemy, to attack the enemy and to protect from dangerous components, the defense force will definitely help us. Like that, in our body, there are many more systems inside, and our body, if you imagine it is like India, we have LOC, skin. So our line of boundary or line of control is our skin, which is largest sensory organ. The skin area is having different chemical secretions, like BSF always getting informations from the spy about the enemies. Like that, skin will get the information about the entering pathogen from these chemicals. Rather, the chemicals will fight with them so that the pathogen will not disturb the skin area. But if the skin is injured, entry of pathogen is easy. Like that, if line of control is not properly protected by BSF, because sometimes enemies will take the influence of politicians and the local communities and they enter inside giving the fake IDs. Like that, once the entered enemy is attacked by the local communities or by the defense power, like that, in our body also, they are also attacked by special cells or they are attacked by special trained cells. Considering this example, let us move on to the topic under human health and disease, immunity. It is in small words we call body defense. It is ability of a person to fight against all the invading components which are dangerous to our internal parts is known as immunity. The scientific definition of immunity is resistance to disease. This immunity we broadly classified into two groups: non-specific immunity and specific immunity. To differentiate these two immunities, first point we consider non-specific immunity is inborn. We have right from the birth, while specific immunity develops during the lifespan. It is not found right from the birth. Second difference, non-specific immunity is common in all persons. specific immunity varies from person to person. Come to the third difference. Non-specific immunity is innate, inborn, and it will have general effect towards all the components which are entering the body. But specific immunity is generated against a specific pathogen. So it is more effective. It will not have any general effect on all the pathogens. With these three differences, let us first learn non-specific or innate immunity. The person says to be healthy if the immune power is better, if the body defense mechanism is working at every level. So under non-specific or innate immunity, quote the definition. The body defense present in the person right from the birth, common in all the human beings, and it will have general effect towards the invading pathogens, is called innate or non-specific immunity. It is first line body defense. It is exhibited or executed at various levels. This innate immunity is given by some surface barriers, then some chemical barriers, then by mechanical actions or by inflammatory reactions. They are also called as cytokine barriers. Let us learn surface barriers. It gives first line defense, followed by cellular defense. It gives second line defense. These two are said to be innate or non-specific immunity. Surface barriers includes number 1, skin, number 2, mucous membrane. Considering skin as the first surface or physical barrier, as I already told you, it is the largest sensory organ. It has sebaceous glands and pseudoferous glands to secrete the oil and the sweat. The oily nature and the salty taste of the sweat will always protect the skin from invading pathogens. Skin also has a particular protein called keratin. Keratinized cells are always show a wall for a pathogen. In rainy season, the skin remains impermeable, or it will not imbibe any water because of this keratin. So this gives first line defense, protects all internal organs from invading pathogens. If there is injury in the skin, pathogens try to enter. Invading pathogens are watched by the specific cells. Now what happens here? If there is an injury, the injured cells will secrete a chemical called opsonin. Invading pathogen coated with opsonin. So these are opsonized pathogens. Means it is indication for the body defense that pathogen is entering and it is coated with the opsonin. Near the injury, many WBCs, it is a defense power in our body. Many WBCs will gather, of which some are called phagocytes. These phagocytes are of two types, macrophages and microphages. Macrophages are bigger. They are present in the tissue area. Microphages are smaller. They are flowing along with the body fluids. So whenever there is an emergency, macrophages will leave the blood vessel and they move outside through the membranes by a mechanism called diapedesis, and they will come to help macrophages. I am talking about cellular body defense. When opsonized pathogen is taking entry through injury, the macrophages or microphages, both are called phagocytes, they recognize opsonin and inside opsonin who is there? Enemy or pathogen. So they recognize, they bind to it, they engulf and they digest. This mechanism is known as phagocytosis. So second line defense is given by phagocytes. They will destroy the invading pathogens which are opsonized. At the same time, there are many pathogens who are very, very clever. They know that if we have this opsonin, we can easily kill it by the human body. So what they do, as soon as they enter, they dissolve the opsonin by secreting their own chemicals. That in that case, macrophages and microphages are unable to recognize invading pathogen because there is no opsonin coating. So these are now non-opsonized pathogens. They are recognized by one more type of cells and we call them as killers. These are natural killer cells derived from T lymphocytes. It is a kind of special WBCs. Now what killer cells are doing? They are recognizing invading non-opsonized pathogen and they will not bind to it. They just recognize and secrete two chemicals, perforin, cytolysin, so that these two chemicals will destroy that pathogen. This is indirect attack. Direct attack by phagocytes, indirect attack by killers. Thus, second line body defense is generated, which is much more stronger than the first line defense. Clear? So, considering non-specific immunity, when you learn one by one, skin and wherever the openings are there, these openings leads into passages and passages lined by mucous membrane. So in absence of skin, we have mucous membrane with a specific salty protein, mucin. It is slimy in nature, so pathogen easily unable to enter through mucous membrane. This first line defense represented by surface barriers like skin and mucous membrane are provided with chemical barriers. So they can work efficiently. The chemicals secreted in different areas like eyes, we have lacrimal. It is watery fluid to keep the eyeball safe and moist. We have cerumen. It is a wax, bitter to taste, sticky in nature, not watery. So ear passages are protected from the cerumen. We have mucin in the nasal passage, in the digestive tract, in genital passage. I already told you this mucin is slimy and salty, so pathogen unable to tolerate. Oil we have everywhere. Sweat we have. Clear? Lysozyme is the typical secretion in the digestive tract which will recognize the pathogens present in the food particles and destroy them. This forms chemical barriers. Surface barriers are physical in nature like skin and mucous membrane. Chemicals, I told you several names, followed by if any pathogen is forcefully inhaled through nasal passage, these pathogens are trapped in the larynx region, in the upper region of the trachea, and our muscles contract vigorously and we cough. So coughing and sneezing, these are the two mechanical actions which will not allow pathogen to take entry through nasal passage. So under non-specific immunity, I have covered surface barriers which are working at the physical level, skin and mucous membrane. Chemical level, different chemical secretions, their odor, their taste, their nature will not allow any pathogen to enter the body. Mechanical actions like coughing and sneezing, followed by if any injury is there in the surface barriers at various level, if they fail to prevent the entry of the pathogens, then we have second line body defense generated by phagocytes by showing direct attack known as phagocytosis, or by natural killing. It is like attacking the enemy or destroying the enemy by throwing the acids, but the Motto is one: don't allow any enemy to enter and retain the body and to disturb our metabolism. With this, I will conclude today's session. In the next session, I'll explain about specific immunity. Thank you.